Shall we start now? I think Dr. Kelvin is here with us. Good morning, Dr. Kelvin.
Good morning, Amir. Good morning,
Yeah.
everyone.
Morning. How are you?
I'm
Shall we
good.
start now?
Yeah,
Okay, shall we start now?
sure, no problem. But anyway, just want to say sorry to everyone because my camera is something wrong. It can only show the background. I don't know why.
Mhm.
Please, yeah, please forgive me on this part. Okay. All right. So let me try to share my screen from my side. Okay.
Okay, so just let me do a short opening,
Sure.
perhaps.
Sure.
Okay, sure. Thank you, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning, everyone. So we are delightful and honored today. We have Dr. Kelvin Lee Young Min with us today from Taylor's University. Today he'll share with us about green and blue economy. So with the titles of the role of climate finance in building blue and green economy. Let me just introduce him a bit. So, of course, he is a faculty members, and perhaps he is. I think he is head of a department in the Taylor's University. So he received his bachelor degree in finance from and also masters of science in finance and also doctor philosophy in finance. All are from the same university, which is University Malaysia Sarawak. But I'm not sure whether Dr. Kelvin, are you from Sarawak?
Yes, I'm from Sarawak. Mm.
Okay, okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Kelvin is from Sarawak, as we know. So his bachelor and also the master and also PhD is all in finance. So he is the master in finance, and especially perhaps in green and blue finance. So we are delightful, Dr. Kelvin, to have you today as our guest speaker. And we hope that we can go deep and share what you know about green and blue, and then also inspire the students here. I'm sure that some of them that have research on green and also a blue finance. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Kelvin and everyone. Please enjoy the session. Thank you. Please, Dr. Kelvin.
Thank you, for the introductions. Can you see my screen? Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, it's clear. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Hi, everyone. Very good morning. So my name is Kelvin. So I'm here today to share with you a little bit about climate finance, how it can help to build the blue and also the green economies in the countries. Okay. So this is also part of the finding from my national project that I'm doing right now. Currently, I'm doing one national project, and then it's about climate finance, how it can help the SME in Malaysia, especially in F&B sector, in like mitigating or adapting to the climate change. Yeah. Okay. So, but then our focus today will be like how can actually climate finance will actually link to blue and also green economics. Okay. All right. So yeah, this is my profile. So I think have go through just now. So I'm gonna skip for this part. All right. So before I start, right, we as human being, we need to know humankind, right? We have to know that the health of our oceans and forests is actually the wealth of our future. The reason why nowadays a lot of people talking about climate change and talking about we need to do recycle, we need to do protecting the environment, mangrove, where we need to we try not to cut the tree, we try to reduce the paper, this and that. All this effort is basically for our future generation. Okay, because we hope that in our futures, okay, our future generation can still at least see, okay, what is these animals, right? So that the animal wouldn't go extinct, all right, because of we cut off the tree, this and that. Okay, so this is where that the climate finance can actually comes in. Okay, because climate finance is a very specific terms. Okay, because whenever we talk about finance, it's basically all about money. All right. And when we talk about climate finance, it basically means that this is the money that used to um, either mitigate or adapt to the climate change. Okay. Because we all know that climate change is happening. We can't really stop it, to be sincere. All right. Even though we have the Paris Agreement signed on 2015, everyone's saying that, okay, we need to try our best to actually control temperature by 1.5 or 2, things like that. Okay, try not to more than this and that. Okay, but however, effort is there. But however, there are some countries that are still struggling. Okay, of course, developed country there may be no issue with this thing, because they may convert all their car into electrical vehicles, right? Where they can just like significantly reduce the carbon emissions. Same goes to China, right? Like last time, China used to be, um, the air pollution is used to be very serious in China, but then now, they successfully reduce it. Okay, why? Because EV is so popular over there. It's so common over there. Where you can see people is using EV. But of course, this is the effort from everyone, not only the government, but also from the citizens, from the individuals. All right, together we build it, then we can see the impact. Okay, so of course, another successful example will be Singapore, but then of course they are using another way around. Okay, in like reducing the carbon emissions. Okay, so like Malaysia. Okay, since I'm from Sarawak, maybe I can like focus more in Sarawak. Okay, so Sarawak, and we are trying our very, very best actually to do one thing right now. We try to use hydrogen for all the public transport. Okay. And
Pardon
furthermore,
me, Dr. Kelvin.
sorry?
Uh, Pardon me. So the slide is, I only see the first one. I'm not sure whether
Yes,
it's
yes.
not
Yeah,
moving.
I
Yeah,
haven't
okay.
moved. I haven't moved it yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. We
All right,
just
all right.
want to make
Okay, okay.
sure.
Yeah, sure, no issue. So, when we talk about Sarawak's, right? Okay, so the government also working very hard over there. I mean, the state government, okay, in terms of like changing the environment, this and that. Okay, how? So the first thing that they do is they change the public transport from the one that using petrol, now they make it into hydrogen. Okay, so this is part of the effort that the government can do. So, okay, this is where climate finance may come in. Okay, so why a country need climate finance? Okay, over here I written that climate finance connect nature and economics. Okay, why? Okay, so we understand that there are some countries, especially the small island developing economic state. Okay, SIDS we call it. Okay, normally they may have some issue. Okay, in getting money to protect to protect the environment. Okay, so Sarawak will be different case because Sarawak even though Sarawak is just a state. Okay, it's not a country. It's just part of the country. But the state government itself, they do have some income, extra income from petrol, from other renewable energy. So that's why they have some other money to actually come up with some idea to how to protect the environment. Okay, so no matter how, if we want to protect the environment, one word, we need money. So that's why climate finance is here. Okay, it funds the resilience, sustainability, and also the equity from ocean all the way to forest. Okay, so what is actually climate finance? Okay, now, so over here, just to share with you, the proper definition for climate finance is referring to the allocation of the money. Okay, when we talk about financial resources, it's basically money. Okay, whether it's locally, nationally, or transnationally from either public, private, or alternative sources to support. You see, the keyword here is to support the action that address climate change. So meaning to say is that climate finance can be used to support any kind of activity that somehow linked to climate change. Okay, so this is also the part of my studies as well because we're trying to ask all, I mean, the SME in Malaysia. We try to ask them some feedback, and then we also testing like, okay, if we implemented this, okay, what will be your feedback? What do you think about this and that? So we do. I can share you some of my findings later. Okay, when I'm moving on with the next few slides. Yeah. Okay, so the concept here is very simple. Climate finance is all about the money that used to support the action against the climate change. Remember, when I say action against climate change, it can be, as I written in the second paragraph, it can be mitigate or adapt. Okay, mitigate means okay, we try to do something to reduce the greenhouse gas emission. Okay, so how do I do something here? What kind of effort? Okay, so one of it, as I mentioned just now, okay, it can be turning your public transport into we don't use petrol anymore. We turn the one into the maybe it can be the electrical vehicle, or maybe we turn it into the bus that using hydrogen, or maybe we convert it into like LRT, MRT, or whatever that using electricity instead of using petrol. Yeah, so this is what we mean by mitigate. So how about adapt? Adapt means like, okay, fine. Now no choice. Okay. Let's say my shop is just nearby the beach, for example. Yeah. So let's say the sea level is rising. Okay, when the sea level is rising, apparently it will affect my business operation. Okay, because my business is just beside the ocean. Sorry, not beside the ocean, beside the beach. You just imagine. Okay, so in this scenario, right, what I can do is I need to move. I need to move my shop from, this location to another location. So you see, I'm not going to mitigate. I can't mitigate because the sea level is rising. Why? Because sea level is actually the outcome of what? Climate change, right? So that's why, no choice. We can only adapt. How do I adapt? Okay, I need to move. So when we talk about moving, we always need money. All right. For example, like I want to move my shop from location A to location B. Okay, no matter what, it involves some money. So this kind of action is called adaptation. Okay, so that's why you can tell me that, okay, sir, or Kelvin, today I actually do something. For example, I want to reduce the paper. We try not to use so much paper, let's say in our university. All right, what we do is, okay, we actually convert everything into online. Okay, this is called mitigation. All right, for example, now we realize that climate change is there, it's getting hot. Okay, but we can't do anything with the sun. So what I can do is I build more roof in my university, for example. Last time we used to have a lot of open space, but now we try to make everything into indoor. So this is called adaptation. Okay. All right. So next, so here is some of the solution that we can have. Okay, by using this climate finance. Sorry, the picture may be a bit blurred here. So of course, the climate finance can be directly, okay, or can be indirectly. Okay. But no matter how, we have to understand that what kind of solution are there. So over here in the diagram, we're actually showing like investing in sustainable tree plantation, means we plant more tree, okay, which a lot of company they are doing right now, currently in Malaysia, and go to Indonesia. Okay, another one is developing innovative technology. What do you mean by innovative technology? Meaning to say that it can be a technology that trying to reduce the carbon emission of a car, for example. All right. As I know that Indonesia and Malaysia, okay, both of our countries actually depending a lot on the car that using petrol. Okay, EV in Malaysia is not so popular yet. Okay, which I believe in Indonesia is the same thing as well. So this is the things. Okay, why? Because petrol for us is still considered at a very competitive price. Okay, it's quite cheap as compared to the other country. So in this case, people may not choose to use EV immediately because they don't really see the impact or the needs for it right now, to be sincere. Okay. So that's why some company they may come in, like even like Toyota, Honda, nowadays they have all this kind of technology. They're telling you that your car can actually something like a hybrid mode. Okay, so it means certainly your car can be petrol, certainly can be using the electricity, things like that. So this is one of what we call as an innovative technology to reduce the carbon emissions. Okay, because as according to one survey they conducted, based on our research as well, we also noticed that okay, the things that contribute the most carbon emissions to Malaysia is actually vehicle. Okay, so if we can successfully reduce this part, means we can contribute a lot to the environment. Okay, all right, and of course, Malaysia now that we also started with some carbon market as well. Okay, we trade the carbon credit, this and that. Okay, so of course, other than that, we can also talk about renewable energy investment. Okay, which I mean, every country is working hard for this. People is trying to invest a lot in renewable energy. Same goes to our university. All right, we also install quite a lot of basically our rooftop in my uni. Basically, all the rooftop is actually solar panel. Okay, if you go and search in YouTube or whatever, you can see everything is solar panel there. But still not enough. So that's why we actually invest in thermal energy right now. Okay, where we need to build a cooling tower for that. Okay, so thermal energy is also one of the renewable energy for your information. Yeah. Okay, so other than that, right, there are also some company in Malaysia, they're doing these reforestations and also mangrove restoration. Okay, we try to build these, so that we can actually protect the environment and protect the ecosystem. And of course, last but not least, we can actually have green bond and also carbon market, which I'm going to cover this later also. Okay, something to do with the money parts. Okay. All right, but why climate finance is matter? Why is it so important to have this climate finance? As I mentioned, whenever we want to do something, whether we want to improve, it can be uni, it can be your life, it can be your families, it can be anything. Okay, whenever you think of improve, you need one thing, money. That's all. Okay, every time when we talk about improve, we need money. Same goes to the climate, same goes to the environment. So that's why climate finance is here to support. All right, a lot of people that actually questions to me before, okay, including all the SME that I interviewed before, they actually ask, Kevin, I'm still confused a little bit. So is climate finance a loan or is actually a donation? All right. So a lot of people actually confusing with this. All right. So is climate finance a loan or what? Okay, because whenever we talk to SME, right? Whenever you tell them, okay, whenever you install this and that, you need money. The first thing in their mind is, okay, where can I get the money? Okay, and who's going to pay for that? And if you ask them to pay for it, then they will tell you, no, I'm not going to pay for that. Okay, so this is the things. All right. So why climate finance is important? Because climate finance can be loan, can be also a donation for your information. Okay, can be also a donation. Donation here, we don't call it as a donation, but we call it as a grant. Okay, we call it as a grant. Yeah. So this is the terms that is telling you that this is not a loan. Okay. So now let's see. So why climate finance is matter? Because it helps us to actually solve the global financing gap. Okay. When I say financing gap means what? As I mentioned just now, whenever we want to improve something, right? We need money. Okay, so whenever we need money means what? There's a gap there. All right, because where to get the money is the issue. So in order to address this gap, people actually introducing climate finance. And somehow this climate finance is not only helping to support activities against the climate change mitigation or adaptation, but bear in mind that, right, whatever action that you are doing, indirectly you are supporting these three SDG. First one, of course, you're talking about climate action, SDG goal 13. SDG goal 14 is about the life below water. Okay, you just imagine that, whenever we build more forests, whenever we have more mangrove, this and that, indirectly, okay, you are protecting some of the life below the water as well. For example, you're protecting some species, the fish species, this and that. This is the part where I'm going to share it later. Okay, this is what Indonesia have done also. In some way, started in 2018, something to do with the SDG goal 14. Yeah. Okay, then after that will be SDG goal 15, life on the land. Okay, so of course, climate finance, if we want to mitigate the climate change, right? Simple, plant more tree, right? So of course, in Malaysia, in Malaysia and also Indonesia, both of us is actually full of natural resources. Okay, for us, tree is not really a land issue, but of course, we're trying our best to build, to have more tree if possible. Okay, because somehow it can help us to achieve this SDG 15 as well. Okay, next, climate finance also enables some country to shift, okay, from brown growth to actually green and blue growth. Okay, so what do you mean by the brown growth here, the green and the blue growth here? It simply means that, we're trying to change the economies, all right, from the normal economy, agriculture economies, right? We're trying to change it into green or also blue economy, things like that, all right? And we also encourage, because of, if your country is receiving some climate finance, somehow you may encourage private sector have an innovative in sustainability as well. How it works. Okay, so you just imagine, as I mentioned just now, climate finance can be loan, can be grant, right? So loan, everyone know what's that. Okay, so someone lending money to you, so you need to actually repay the money to them. All right. So of course you can use the money for maybe you want to buy a machine that can help to reduce the carbon emissions, things like that. So another way around, climate finance also can be coming in a form of, okay, we sort of like giving the grant to the SME, okay? And then we actually tell the SME to use this amount of money, have some innovative things in their technology. For example, we need them to use this money to modify the machine, for example, so that the machine can actually reduce less carbon, things like that. Okay, so this is what we mean, okay? Innovation in sustainability, okay? All right. So whenever we talk about climate finance, right, you just imagine like this, right? Climate finance is not about climates only. It's not about whatever we see on the sky, but it's also something to do with the oceans and also the forests. Okay. So again, before we touch about this, we touch about the linkage between blue economics and also climate finance. Let's see what is actually a blue economy is. All right. So blue economy is referring to the sustainable use of the ocean resources for economic growth. Okay, so for examples that let's say we depend a lot on the ocean. Okay, ocean actually provide food to us, right? Ocean provide fish, all the foods, to us actually. Okay, to human beings. So that's why we need to protect the ocean. That's why a lot of people starting to do something with the ocean. For example, they try their best to like, collecting rubbish from the ocean. There are someone doing this, all right, and they can actually collect like 20 tons. even 30 tons of the rubbish from the ocean. So this is one of the project that we can actually go in. I mean, we can start actually anytime that we want, right? Because this is also part of the community service that we contribute to the environment. Okay. So why? Because this thing also somehow may affect our economic growth. Why? You just imagine today, let's say Bali. You just imagine, Bali, we assume all the Bali, the island over there is full of rubbish. Then what happened? Tourists may not come anymore because whatever they see is no longer a beautiful ocean, right? It's a beautiful rubbish bin. So you see, things like that may somehow affect your economic growth, right? But of course, I know Bali is very nice. Okay, I went there before, just a few months ago. Very nice. So of course, as human being, we need to protect because that's the beautiful things that the nature give it to us. Correct? Or not? Okay. So not only that, right, can also improve. If we actually um try to protect the ocean, it's also help us to improve as I wrote here, improve the livelihood and also the job. Okay, because it may affect the tourism business as well. Okay, and also preserving the health of the ocean. Okay, because once the ocean is healthy, all the animals downstairs, all the life below the water will be healthy. Okay, so we can have continuously, continue our fisheries activity. It won't affect any of the supply of the fish, this and that. Correct? Or not? Okay, so of course, when we talk about blue economies, the things that actually involved in this blue economy is the fishery business, renewable marine energy, coastal tourism, maritime transport, and marine biotechnology. Okay, so we don't go too far, but today we go through about fishery business. You just imagine if ocean is nice, we can always have the supply of the fish, right? Means there is no issue with our food. There's also no issue with, if I want to export my fish to another country, things like that. So that's why blue economy somehow is very important as well. Okay, so there's the challenges as well. Okay, when it comes to fishings, right? It can be an issue of overfishing in certain area, yeah. Okay, so for example, that someone's know that okay, specific type of fish are very expensive, and suddenly a lot of people go there and try to catch the fish, this and that. It may somehow affect the ecosystem as well. Okay, because as we all know that the food chain is very fair to each other. Food chain. Okay, so just imagine one type of the animal is disappearing from the food chain. The entire food chain will be affected. Okay, so that's why sometimes you will see, oh, why crocodile is appearing in the ocean. Okay, even though that we know crocodiles should not appear in the ocean, but crocodile does appear. Okay, in Malaysia, it's many times already. People actually saw this. One of the reasons is because of the biodiversity is gone. The ecosystem is gone. Okay, so that's why the crocodile can't really look for the food. That's why they need to explore for their food is actually in the ocean, things like that. So other than that, right, plastic pollution is something that I mentioned just now. It's also very, very critical issues that happens okay with our in our oceans right now. Okay, other than that would be ocean acidification. Yeah. So, for example, like some irresponsible factory, they may actually throw all the toxic into the ocean. There are some people doing funny things like this. Okay, so it somehow may affect your oceans and affect your blue economy as well. So other than that, lack of investment. Okay, so this is where climate finance can actually come in. Okay, so later I share you one example. Yeah, it's actually what the Indonesians have done. Yeah, so far, which for me I think is a very good idea. Okay, to actually protect the ocean. Other than that, another challenges here will be the limited access to finance. So the second last and also the last point here is basically talking about money. Okay, so this is where the government of the Seychelles. Okay, let's talk about the Seychelles government. Yeah, so Seychelles governments actually have launched the world first. We call it as a storage blue bond. Okay, blue bond. So everyone should know about bond, right? So bond is basically just like a debt instruments. Okay, for example, a country that needs some money, they will issue a bond, right? And they will get some money from the investor, and then maybe they can use the money to fund the infrastructure project in their country. So how about blue bond? So from the name, we already know they get the money for what? They get the money for the purpose of protecting or to support the sustainable marine and fishery projects. Okay, so for your information, the bond here successfully raised up to 15 million US dollar from all the international investors. Okay, it's actually coming from the three investors. Okay, from one of it is actually a bank. All right, so they actually provide this money to the Republic of Seychelles, and hopefully they can use this to finance the sustainable use of the marine resources, which It can be used to overcome the challenges in the second one and also the last one. Okay, so this is what they have done. All right, so let's see what Indonesia's have done. Okay, now guys, let's take a look. Yeah, Indonesia also have one thing we call Indonesia Blue Finance Landscape. Okay, maybe some of you are aware of this, maybe some of you are not aware of this. Okay, but just to share with you, this is what the government have done. Okay, so you have a very clear framework for this. You know where to get the money. As you can see here, we can always get the money from either the government budget, local government, state enterprise, private service agency, private foundation. We can also get from financial institution. All right. So how do they get the money? As I mentioned, it can be through loan, it can be through grant, it can be through equity or government expenditure. Okay. But no matter what, the purpose is very clear here. It's either to mitigate, as what I mentioned just now, or adapt, or maybe dual benefit. Okay, so who will be the one that benefit from under this blue finance landscape, Indonesia blue finance landscape, yeah, which is the marine fisheries and aquaculture, marine plastic and waste management. Okay, so let's say if you have let's say you want to set up a new company today, and your company is like helping the government maybe to clean the ocean. Okay, there's a lot of company or organization like this currently. Okay, they're just trying to help the government to actually clean the ocean, this and that. So maybe they propose to the government and then they charge accordingly. It can be something like this. Okay, because the government is willing to spend on this part because we all want a clean environment for your information. And some more, the plastic that you collected from the ocean can turn into money. Correct or not? So, you can actually, it's actually a win-win situation. Okay, so if you set up a company, you get some money from the government, let's say, and the government, let's say, giving you about 500,000 to actually clean the ocean. And what you have done, okay, you take this 500,000, you hire people, or maybe you use to fund your operation for your team to collect the rubbish from the ocean. And then after that, you can turn all the rubbish into another source of income for your company because all the plastic or whatever aluminium that you collected from the ocean can actually turn into money. Okay, you just send to the recycle factory, right? Okay, so this is what you can do. All right, next will be marine tourism and conservation. Okay, as I mentioned, marine tourism is also one of the things, one of the very important, I would say, sector, especially for a country that like Indonesia. It's so popular about Bali is so popular. Okay, with the view, the ocean view, the sea view, and also the island. So that's why this is the part where it's very very important because without funding your marine tourism, yeah, okay, people may just simply ignore, and people may not aware of the consequences of not taking care of the ocean. So Indonesia have done very good job. I mean, for me in this part, yeah. So who will be the recipient for this so-called blue finance? Yeah, it's actually the government ministry. Okay, it's either the ministry get the money or the local government agency, or it can be the research institution or university. So for example, like your University Negeri Surabaya, you can actually apply, for example, some fund from the government. Okay, we will try to protect the oceans. All right, for example, yeah, or we can also do something like a matching grant or whatever. No issue with that. Okay, so next, okay, it can also help to fund the SME as well, the micro, the small and the medium enterprise. Yeah. Okay, so this is what you can have, right? This is some of the data that I extract from the report. As you can see here, okay, let's see who is the biggest contributor over here. Okay, yeah, it's very clear, right? Bank Negara Indonesia. Okay, they actually support a lot in terms of this. Same goes to Bank Central Asia, yeah. Okay, so over here, right? Of course, we actually split it into SOE, state-owned enterprise. Okay, I think it's the state-owned bank, right? Okay, another one is the commercial bank. Okay, for example, like okay, Bank CIMB Niaga, they also contribute a little bit on it. Okay, right. So over here, you look at the right side, right? So which one do they support? Okay, the red color one is marine fishery, and then blue one is marine plastic and waste management. Okay, as you can see, Bank Negara Indonesia, they're actually heavily, I would say. Okay, well, bear in mind, this data is from 2015 to 2019. So as you can see from Bank Negara Indonesia, they actually fund a lot in terms of marine fishery and aquaculture. Okay, but then when you look at bottom part, you see Bank Central Asia, they actually invest a lot in terms of what? Marine, plastic, and waste management. Okay, so there are two different type of goal, I would say. All right, two different type of goal, but then still we are actually protecting the oceans. We're protecting and supporting the SDG goal 14. Okay, so other than that, of course, the money is going through in terms of what? Which type of instruments? Okay, and of course, it's going through the loan. Okay, so that's why I mentioned just now, if you want to set up one company and your company is small to like protecting the environment, protecting the ocean, so perhaps you may need some loan from the government, from the bank to actually fund your project. Okay, but anyway, let's see the loan. Okay, is coming from who? Is it the private one or is it the public one? Okay, it's very clear cut. You can see that the red and the blue color over there. Okay, all right, but let's move on with the next one. Okay, so whatever that we see here before we move to the next one. Okay, bear in mind that the blue finance here is also part of the climate finance for your information. Okay, right? So climate finance is actually just a general term. Okay, because it can also cover the green bond, this and that. All right. So it's not only limited to green bond, green sukuk. Okay, it can be many things. As long as we are trying to protect the environments, okay, especially can park under climate finance. Okay, basically it's part of it. Okay, now, so what is green economies? Okay, so whenever we talk about green economies, right, we need to link with one thing, okay? Because blue is all about ocean, green is all about the forest. Of course, now we do have another new term we call orange economy. This is nothing much to do with the environment. But the orange economy is something very interesting for us to explore in the next few years. Okay, right? Other than the blue and the green here, yeah. So, but today we focus in the blue and the green only. So now, green economy is actually something that focus on the economic growth, and at the same time, we're trying to protect the environment. Okay, the environment. Of course, the environment here means like the life on the land, the forest, this and that, right? So we emphasize on one thing here is under green economy, we emphasize on the economic dimension of sustainable development and balance the resource development and environmental protection. Okay, so for example, yeah, let's say you run some research, for example. Okay, so for example, you can study one thing we call UGF, urban green space. Okay, so according to the standards, okay, by the WHO, okay, we need to have certain area of the urban green space that we have. For example, now we are in Kuala Lumpur, for example, the capital of Malaysia. Okay, right? So whatever we can see there is like the high buildings, okay, everything is building, but we don't really see the green color things like the tree, this and that, right? So that's why you can see that nowadays a lot of new buildings, especially new building, okay, new can be new office, new building or whatever. They're starting to actually change it into more green, meaning to say that they can have some tree on the top of the shopping mall, for example, or maybe they can have some tree inside the airport, for example, just like Singapore, or maybe they can have some tree in, maybe any part, for example, like just beside a toilet, this and that. It can be, yeah, okay, a small tree, a small plant, not tree, it's a small tree beside the toilet, or this and that. Okay, many things that we can do. So that's why. Okay, here they mention this. We want to balance the resource development and environmental protection. Means when you cut off how many trees for building the house, at the same time, you need to plant how many trees to actually compensate for that or offset the tree that you cut off. Okay, so this is the very important issues that we need to consider. Okay, this is somehow linked to urban green space as well. So the key sector that involve under green economy here will be the renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, waste management. Okay, the waste management here not necessarily is for the ocean. It should be more focused on the land one. So means like there are some, let's say this is the part that I think ASEAN countries need to put more effort on this. Okay, why we need to actually learn from the other countries. Okay, other countries like Japan, for example, they actually separate, okay, separate all their rubbish accordingly. Okay, recyclables, okay, or plastic or paper or whatever. They will actually split it accordingly. Then only they throw away. Okay, so this is what we can practice in our daily life as well. okay, so that we can actually manage the waste properly. I remember last year I conducted one research. Okay, I actually have one idea suddenly the other day after I visit one uni in China. I noticed that there's a lot of food waste, a lot. Okay, whenever they can't finish the food, right? Because over China they used to stay in the hostel, so all the students will actually buy the food in the canteen. So what I observed there is a lot of students can't finish the food. So what they do is they just throw away. Okay. But over there, they have one very systematic robot, okay, or the machine to actually manage their food waste. Okay. But then in Malaysia, we don't really have this kind of machine. Okay. Whenever student cannot finish their food, they just throw everything into the rubbish bin. So even they have some bottles or whatever, they also throw into rubbish bin. So means there's a food waste mixed with the plastic. Okay, so this is what I did last year. I actually conduct one study about food waste separation by university students who stay in the hostel. So it's a very meaningful study, okay, which I actually collaborate with another uni as well. We try to explore and see what kind of factors that may affect the intention to actually separate this food waste. And then, of course, it's a very meaningful finding because after we conduct the study, right, we actually come up with a report and actually share with the uni that sponsor our project. We actually tell them, okay, I get the feedback from your student, and this is our finding. And then we also tell them what to improve. So the uni also improved accordingly based on our research finding. And now they see the impact. Okay, the students starting to have awareness. They're starting to split the food, this and that. Okay, it's a very important, I would say, journey. Okay, for everyone. Okay, to move towards this sustainable society. Okay, other than that would be ecotourism. Ecotourism will be another issues as well another things that we can actually focus on. Yeah. Okay, next, let's see. How can the climate finance work in a green economy? So it actually helps us to fund. Okay, it's just like blue economy. Okay, it's help to fund the project. Okay, over here, green economy is like we fund the low carbon project. For example, you're telling me that you want to have a new machine in university, for example, yeah, and this new machine can help you to reduce the carbon emission when you print out the paper, for example. Okay, right. So this can be one of the efforts. Okay, or maybe you can tell me that, all right, let's say your University of Negeri Surabaya, you plan to have one ESG committee, for example, and based on this community, and then based on this committee, and then you're planning to have some big project going on. For example, you want to introduce no plastic day in your university, for example. Okay, so this is one of the things that we all can do. Okay, right? We all can work together. So just like Taylor's in my uni, we actually have ESG committee as well. Okay, I'm also part of the committee. So we're actually starting to explore no plastic. Okay, no plastic, totally no plastic. We try to see is this possible or not. Okay, because if we talk about no plastic day, should be fine because it's only one day in a week to have no plastic. Okay, basically no plastic. Everything try to be renewables or something that can be disposed easily. Okay, it's either using plastic or it's either using paper or maybe any other type. Or we have to encourage students to bring container this and that. So this is all the effort that we have done. Okay, so yeah, why not? We can actually work together to explore this further, right? Okay, so that's the things that we can actually consider. So if you are uni students, let's say you want to do some research project, this is also some ideas that you can actually take it and then you can conduct the research project. It's either based on your uni or whatever. Whatever finding that you find out, then you can actually contribute. Okay, you can actually recommend. Based on your finding, then you recommend. Yeah. Other than that, right, climate finance also playing a role like supporting the energy transition. Okay, maybe you can actually get some money from the government to convert your unis to be solar panel, fully depends on solar panel, example, or maybe fully depends on wind, for example. Okay, it can be any of the renewable energies here. Yeah. Okay. So other than that, the role of climate finance and also can help you to encourage nature-based solution here. For example, like you go for reforestation, you plant more tree, this and that. Or it can help to stimulate the green innovation in SME as well. Okay. So as I mentioned, the money can be in the form of loan or grant. For example, you can give it as a grant to support the business to actually innovate the technology in the business. Okay, it can be, yeah, no issue with that. All right. Other than that, let's move on. Okay. So this is one of the things that Malaysia have done. Okay, we call this as a green technology financing scheme that's supporting green economy. Okay, so of course this is actually the collaboration between the ministry in Malaysia. So they come up with this GTFS 2.0. So the 2.0 here is like they offer 2% rebate, okay, on the interest. Okay, meaning to say that if you are paying 4%, so there will be a rebate of 2%. Okay, so means you only pay 2% interest if you're getting a loan for the green technology. All right, so this can actually help you to accelerate the expansion of green investment of the company. Because whenever the company they want to invest in green technology or whatever, they need money, right? So if you charge them lower interest, they may actually would like to try or would like to explore about this, and they are more willing to do that. Okay, so for information, the amount is actually up to 2 billions right now, ringgit Malaysia. Yeah. Okay. Other than that, we can also have one thing called green sukuk. For your information, everyone know what is actually sukuk is. Okay, sukuk is basically an Islamic bond, but then a green sukuk is basically, I would say, very similar to the conventional sukuk that we know or Islamic bond. But however, the green sukuk here can only be used to what? To fund environmental friendly project. Okay, environmental friendly project. For example, okay, you want to build some some high tech or some sustainable park in your society, for example, okay, in one housing area, for example, in Indonesia. Okay, so what kind of the things that you want to put in is all the high tech thing, and then is basically no carbon emission one, but you need money. Okay, so where can you get the money? So the local government, they may issue this green sukuk. Okay, they issue this green sukuk, and then everyone can go and get the green sukuk, and they take the money and fund the project. Okay, it can be something like this. So of course, the Malaysians, okay, debuts the first green sukuk. Okay, and to that they have the Malaysia also have the largest number of green sukuk. Okay, and Indonesia also rests the most through green sukuk issuers. Okay, even though Malaysia have the large number in green sukuk, but then in terms of value, Indonesia is still better. Okay, in terms of the value that Indonesia rests as compared to Malaysia. Yeah. So of course, when we talk about overall, yeah, when we talk about overall over here, 6.1 billions US dollar has been raised through 12 unique green sukuk here. Okay, by who? By Indonesia, Malaysia, and also UAE, and one multilateral development bank. Okay, so these four, I mean, three countries and together with one parties or one organization, up to 2020. You see, we already raised 6.1 billion. Okay, so if you're thinking about business opportunity, if you're thinking of, all right, what kind of business can I do? Because nowadays a lot of youngsters they like to think of new business, this and that, right? So this is where you can see. You see, 6.1 billions is there, okay, to fund the environmental friendly project. So what kind of environmental friendly project is that? Think of it. And then you can see the opportunity in earning money because everyone is talking about this right now. Okay. So this is the thing. But of course, the sukuk that Indonesia, Malaysia actually issue is normally denominated in USD. Normally, okay, because the US dollars denominated issuers is make up to 65% of the green sukuk, yeah? Okay, followed by euro the denominated ringgit and also rupiah. Okay. All right, so basically this graph, I would say, perfectly telling you what is actually the factor of climate change. Okay, for example, as you can see on the left side on the top, you can see the climate change driver. Who will be the one? Okay, for example, like in industrial production, energy sectors, transportation, this is all the things that may contribute to the climate change. If we manage it properly, then we can reduce the climate change effect. Okay, as you can see, what kind of effect that we can have. For example, on the right side, top part, you can see the effect is global temperature increasing, the biodiversity is affected, okay, and then the unusual event pattern, ocean acidifications, sea level rising, all this can be mitigated, okay. So how do I mitigate? Okay, you can look at the left side at the bottom part. What we can do is we're applying clean and renewable energy, carbon pricing, enhance the waste management, And what kind of things that we can do to adapt to climate change is we can have water harvesting, okay? Water harvesting, building the seawall, all right? Like what Japan doing right now is they're building a lot of seawall right now and restoring degrades ecosystem, okay? Agroforestry, forestry adoptions. There's so many things that we can do, or crop diversification. This is all the things that we can do. Okay, so when we talk about all this climate finance, right, we also need the private sector to be engaged as well. So for example, like bank, what can they do is they can actually include the ESG risk assessment into lending. Meaning to say, before the bank approve any loan to the company, they need to assess the ESG as well, whether the company is doing well or not in terms of ES and also the G. Then only they approve the loan. So this is also the things that we explore in our national project here. Okay, we actually tell the SME saying that, okay, what if one day, okay, before the bank actually, before they lend you any money, they want to access to your or access to your company and see how good are you in terms of like contributing to the environment. So we want to see before and after. Okay, so whatever national project that we are doing right now is basically talking about before. Okay, so if possible, we want to ask for one more project from the government or maybe any other organization to test about after. Okay, right. So this is what we're going to see. All right. Next one is corporate also can adopting science-based target. So for example, like the company may also play an important part here. They can actually set the goal. They tell their workers saying that, okay, we try our best to reduce the carbon emission. How? Okay, so nowadays a lot of companies they're starting to apply this hybrid mode, work from home. Okay, so this is actually the initiative to reduce the carbon emission. For example, like tailors, we're actually applying like 2 days working from home. Okay, so means within a week, you can actually having 2 days work from home. You don't have to go to the uni, things like that, to reduce not only carbon emission, but also somehow can contribute to the traffic jam. Okay, right. Of course, when we talk about global landscape of climate finance, you can always click the link here. We have CPI. Okay, it's a climate policy initiative. You can actually look at the website. They have a very, I would say, very informative things about this global climate finance. As you can see, the global climate finance is actually growing all the way from 2018 to 2023. You can see that from 2018, it's only 812 millions. But then somewhere in 2023, it's actually more than 100%. Okay, it's actually times two, more than times two actually. Okay, turned out to be 1,903 billions already. Okay, it's like growing a lot. Okay, so this is the most up-to-date data that we have. But I believe 2014 it can actually easily, okay, went more than 2,000 billions over here in 2024. Yeah. So lastly, okay, we all know that, okay, throughout this session, we all can a little bit understand, okay, how climate finance can actually contribute to blue and also the green economies, right? But then we still have the major challenge here because there's always some limited access to the finance for the small island and also developing state, SIDS. Okay, this is also a very interesting topic to study about this SIDS. Yeah, a lot of people also are trying to study the impact over there. Next would be the weak climate governance and also institutional capacity. As what I mentioned, government also play an important part in this. Okay, so one of the reasons why I've been awarded by the government for the national project here is also that somewhere back in 2023, our government actually mentions that we want to do something with the climate change. We need something. So that's why there's the time I proposed this climate finance project. Okay, and this is how I got it. Okay, because somehow aligns with the national policy. Okay, because climate change is actually everyone's responsibility. Okay, so yeah, we don't really blame whatever happens before, but we want to see what's things that we can do. Okay. All right. Next would be inadequate monitoring and also financial flow. It can be lacking of money. It can be lacking of monitoring. Okay. Lastly, will be political and regulatory uncertainty. In let's say political unstable may affect some of the policy, this and that, right? Okay. So this one can somehow reduce our efforts. Okay, in terms of protecting the environment as well. Yeah. So I think, all right, here comes the end. Okay, bear in mind that climate finance is not just about funding. It is about transforming system, protecting ecosystem, and also empowering the community. Okay, so that's all. Thank you. That's all from me. Thank you, everyone. Okay, is there
Well,
any question? Hmm.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Dr. Kelvin. So it's really insightful yet compelling presentation from you. Yeah, you have brightened our day. So now it comes to Q&A sessions. Please, anyone who have questions, you can raise your hand to directly deliver your questions to Dr. Kelvin, or you may also drop your questions in the chat box so I can read it to Dr. Kelvin. But before we go to the participants, I would like to ask perhaps a number of questions. The first one, of course, it's just I just remember one thing that we have the UN annual meeting just I think a few weeks ago, and then
Hmm.
there is a powerful statement from U.S. President, which is Donald Trump.
Hmm.
He said that climate action, all those things, is just a scam. So what you mentioned also in the challenges that it's a political unpredictability or stability or something. So what you see on that side? And then the other side of the questions, that from the negative side, and then from the positive side, it's that perhaps what we can do as an academia in the academia, and then what is the current topic for research in climate change or in a green and blue economy that we can do, perhaps from whether it's a policy or it's finance or something. Or what's your view on that?
Okay, right. So maybe I start with the very first one, where Donald Trump saying that climate change is a scam. Okay. So over here, if I'm not mistaken, there are some studies shows before that I'm not sure how many percent, but many percent, I mean, very high percentage of the climate scientists, we call this as a climate scientist, they are the one that's studying all about climate change. They actually agree that human activity is the one that causing all this global warming. Of course, there's also some people argue saying that, okay, now as compared to previously, okay, as compared to previously, like back to 90s and 19s, yeah, somewhere in 19s, where we have the industry revolution 1.0, 2.0, when everyone's starting to use, all the ship, this and that. That's the time that all the developed country that actually emit the most carbon dioxide to the world. Okay, but then during that time, nobody talk about this climate change. Nobody talk about it. Okay, even people talk about it, but people may not be aware. Why nowadays a lot of people know about climate change? Okay, it's actually linked to technology advancement. For example, today we can easily know what happened in any part of the world easily by just Google the information, this and that, right? I mean, what can I say here is technology play an important part here, because last time a lot of people not aware of climate change. Okay, last time when everyone I would say after World War One, after World War Two, everyone is suffering, everyone is recovering, everyone just focused in business. Nobody really care about climate. And furthermore, during that time, people is not aware that the climate is changing. People just don't aware. What they do is they just work very hard to boost the economy, this and that. So whenever, when it comes to this era, when the technology is there, when the information flow is there, now we can easily know information of anything, anytime that we want by just Google with just one smartphone. So the awareness starting to be there. So that's why people are starting to care about it. Okay, so if whenever Donald Trump is saying that it's a scam, for me I have different perspective because as you can see, Singapore is one of the successful country. Okay, for your information, Singapore and Johor, they are very close to each other,
Mhm.
super close. It's like 5 minute drive without any
Yeah,
jam. The
yeah.
5 minute drive can go into Singapore, but there's a study shows that Singapore temperature is always 2 degrees lower than Malaysia.
Mm.
It's always. Why? Why? Since they are so near to us, so near to Malaysia, why they did that? Because they successfully proved to you that they can somehow mitigate the impact of climate change. So how they do that? They plant a lot of tree across the street. First thing. Second thing, of course, they have a long-term effort they have done before. For example, if you want to own a car in in Singapore today, you need to pay 100,000 Singapore dollar, which is about 300,000 plus ringgit Malaysia. I'm not sure how many millions or billions rupiah already.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
just to own one car, yeah? It's not buying a car yet, just a license to
Mhm.
own a car. And the license is
Yeah.
only lasts for 5 years. And
Mhm.
after 5 years, you need to pay again. So can you
Mhm.
imagine if normal people, they will never think of buying a car in Singapore. They will just thinking of public transport. You see, this is
Yeah.
one of the impact already. When the car numbers is reducing, definitely the carbon emission is reduced. And some
Mhm.
more, you plant a lot of trees. So somehow they really prove that they did it. Okay. So of course, there is a lot of effort we can actually prove it. I mean, that effort that we can do to prove it. For example, nowadays a lot of people also talk about green building. Okay, green building is also one of the successful examples to prove that climate change mitigation is possible. Okay, I mean the impact of climate change is possible. Why? Because as we all know that climate change causing global warming, getting
Yeah.
hot, getting hot. That's all. How can we mitigate this? Of course, we cannot say we try to install more aircon, because if we install more aircon, indirectly we also harm the atmosphere as well. But that's why the idea of green building is coming in. So what do you mean by green building? A lot of people just don't know what is green building. Green building, why they name as green building? Because the temperature inside the green building, without on the aircon, is lower
Mhm.
than outside. That's why they're known as
Oh.
green building. This is why they're named as green building. Okay, based on, I mean, I can just share here because I haven't shared to my government yet, but I can just share over here. One of our findings, we're actually trying to propose one thing called green store.
Green
Meaning to
storm.
say, green store, meaning to say,
Mhm.
your shop, for example, yeah, your shop is cooler than outside without on the aircon. Okay, but then of course we have the target there. It's like 2 degree lower. Without on the aircon, we can try to test if your shop temperature is 2 degree lower than outside, then you can certify as a green building, a green store, sorry. Okay, so this is something that we plan to propose to the government after this. Okay, so how do they do that? Of course, we actually propose few things. Like for example, they can put some plantation, they can let some water flow in their shop, this and that, to cool down the temperature in the store without using any aircon. So this is some of the ideas that we can do. So that's why if you're saying that climate change is a scam, when we say that scam means this is something fact, all right?
Mhm.
But then if you can prove that you can actually mitigate the impact, then how can this thing to be a fact? So I mean, this is something that I actually thinking of, yeah. Okay, it's just my personal opinion. It may be wrong, okay, but then I would say actually many organizations also prove this, like NASA, they also observe the changes in the earth from time to time is getting hotter and hotter. All right, so that's the things. Okay, like rising global temperature also from the past 10 years. Okay, it's also turned out to be more and more warmers actually. I mean in the world. Okay, right. So this is my view on the Donald Trump's statements actually. Sorry, I mean your second question is
About the
about what?
current issue on research on green and blue.
Oh, yes, yes, correct. Yeah. Yes, current research, I would say a lot of people is doing about economic finance previously, as well, when we also do some literature review, but there's a limited study that testing how climate finance affect things. Okay, like for example, currently I'm doing one is climate finance with the renewable energy. What's the relationship between between these two simple things, huh? But then we seldom see this kind of study being conducted. Okay, so this is a new area that we can actually tackle. Because if you can Google, you can just simply type climate finance research, okay, maybe in the Google. Whatever you can see there is more to systematic review. They
Yeah.
don't really run some empirical analysis to test the relationship or the impact or the effect of it. No, not much to be sincere. So this is the things that we can actually enter into. Same goes to blue economy. Blue economy is also a very new topics that we can actually enter into. Okay. But green economy, quite a numbers of study have been conducted. So for me, I would say is that blue economy and also climate finance can be the new area of research that we can actually work towards actually because we can actually narrow down because a lot of study they just based on country basis, meaning to say they
Mhm.
just take the sample from different country, but instead, just like my project currently, instead of looking at the whole Malaysia, but I zoom in and look at the contributions by the SME only, and specifically in F&B business. One of the reasons why is
Mhm.
because I can see the F&B business, especially the SME in Malaysia, they don't really use any innovative technology for the food packaging and so on. Unlike China, China is using super high tech, super efficient things to do their packaging, this and that. But ours is not. One of the reasons is because of lacking of investment, lacking of money, this and that. So that's the reason why I mean this study somehow can contribute, some meaningful, hopefully can contribute some meaningful recommendation or suggestion to the government. Yeah. I mean that's my point of view of it. Okay, I mean, all right.
Okay. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful answer. Well, now we turn to participants. Okay, we have one question here from our sister. I think this one is Salva. Yes, please, Salva.
Okay, thanks, Sir Amin, for the opportunity, and want to say big thanks for Dr. Kelvin Lee Yong Ming for the presentation. So this is about transition toward green and blue economies, right?
Mm,
Some question about tries with the climate finance mechanism like green sukuk and blue bonds that presented can empower development countries or can instead create new form of dependence on global markets, Western donor institution today. So my question is about developing countries can really have a benefit from the current green finance system or just becoming more dependent on global financial and donor networks. And my second question is how can the risk of debt colonial through green loans to be prevented so that sustainable transition doesn't end up the depending global economic inequality. Thank
mm,
you.
okay. Okay, thank you for the question. So I try to summarize the question in this way, that maybe your point of view is like thinking that, okay, is all the developing country, like they're depending a lot on, some people may actually question this, after our review, people may actually argue this thing as well. They say developing country always relies on the financing from the developed country to do this, to do that, right? Okay, so maybe I can just give a very short statement about this. Okay, all right. So the concept is like this. In order to be win-win situations, okay, very simple idea. Let's say you run a business today, okay, and me as a government, I tell you that okay, you need to apply some renewable things in your store or whatever. You will say, I refuse to that. I refuse to do that. Okay, so this is what I mean, normally this is what the developing country thinks. We don't really have money in doing this, but there's always one way, win-win situation. How? We always can use one idea called tax incentive. Okay, so how, this is also something that, of my findings, which I'm going to propose to the government as well. So just now I did mention about green store, right? Okay, so actually the idea is that this. If you ask them to get a loan from the bank for renewable purpose, of course the SME will tell you, sorry, I'm not going for that because this will increase my cost. Okay. The SME may refuse to apply all the kind of grant from the whatever organization that we know. So they will say this is so troublesome. Okay, so many paperwork I need to do. So what we can actually suggest to the government is, okay, now we give a cert like green store. Okay, how do I give the cert? Okay, we need to say something like this. Whenever someone is certified as green store, and if the customer spend the money in green store, whatever money that the people spend in a green store can get tax incentive or tax redemptions or whatever. Okay, for example, you can use it to tax relief. Okay, I use another word, tax relief here. So meaning to say, this one can somehow increase the people's awareness, saying that, okay, I need to spend my money in green store because it can help me to reduce my tax. Okay, it can be up to 1,000 ringgit, maybe 500 ringgit, no matter how much. Okay, as long as it can help to reduce a little bit on the tax, what people doing here is, okay, the concept is very simple. You see, the whole cycle is like this. Yeah. So sorry, I can't really draw over here, but I'm just sharing with you. Hopefully, you can get me an idea here. Imagine you are SME, you are certified as green store in Malaysia. And when people come and spend in your store, they get tax relief. Okay. And when more and more people want to get the so-called tax relief, they will spend more in your shop. When they spend more in your shop, you have more business. When you have more business, then you can actually pay whatever financing cost that you bear, whatever interest that you're actually supposed to pay to the bank because of your apply, you're getting the loan in doing all these renewable things. Okay, so it can actually help you already. So from the government's perspective, how can you contribute to the government? Because when you have more sales, indirectly you are contributing more tax to the government. So even though the government give tax relief to individual, but indirectly they actually collect more tax from the business. So I would say this is actually a win-win approach. Okay, that all the business in developed country should think about this. Okay, and the government as well. They can actually think of this. Okay, try to come up with a framework like this so that everyone can win-win. That's it. I mean, hopefully I answers your question because due to the time limit here, I know that the time is going to end soon. The session going to end soon. So sorry for the short statement. Hopefully I can share more in the future. Yeah. Okay. Right. I think I have another question here, right? From Satva.
Yeah,
Sat.
I think just now is Salva is asking
Oh,
about
okay.
that
All
question.
right.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
Okay.
Well, is there any other questions from other participants? Perhaps we can take one or two more questions. Okay, if no, then we can conclude our sessions today. And thanks a lot for Dr. Kelvin for your time and for your sharings. Perhaps we can get your materials later, so you can send with me, and then
Sure.
perhaps I
Sure.
can
Thank you.
share with all the participants here.
Sure.
Thanks a lot again, Dr. Kelvin. Is there any final statement perhaps before we close?
Yeah, of course, I say that yeah, it's important for us to actually protect the environment. Of course, as academicians, what we can do here is we can always come up with a lot of research. Okay, even you are students, you can also contribute not only in terms of research, but also you can do some community service to help to protect the environment. Okay, right. So I
Well,
think that's all. All right. Can we take
well,
a group photo? I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
sure, sure. Okay, I think we have Sister Gaby here. So, Sister
Mm.
Gaby, can you please help us on taking a group photo, or perhaps okay, group photo here. Any everyone, please turn on your camera so can we can see full faces today. Yeah, and then we have Sister. Okay, and Sister Gaby, please help us. Hello, Gaby, are you with us? Just okay. Let me just take on my own. Okay, then one, two, three. By the way, it's also recorded, so we can also take the photo from the recordings, and it's also, I mean, yeah, it's also live in
Sure.
YouTube, so we can take the from the
Sure. Sure.
recording also. Thanks a lot,
Okay.
Dr. Kelvin, for
Thanks a
your
lot.
time and for your availability for sharing with us today. Hope to see you again in next occasions. Stay healthy, everyone, and apologize for any mistakes and shortcomings during the sessions. See you again. Thanks. With this, we close the sessions. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. Thank you, Amin. Bye.
Thank you.